Hello and welcome, boys and girls and grown-ups as well. Welcome back to my channel. Yes, it looks like I am flying in the air on my red pillow, but I don't. I put my pillow on the support of these railings. The truth is that I don't feel very comfortable because there is too much water down there. Well, what do you see behind me? Do you know this? Thames Barrier. It is a movable barrier system that has been designed and built to prevent London from being repeatedly flooded by high tides and storm waves moving up from the sea. It has been operational since 1982. When needed, the barrier is raised, typically during high tide. At low tide, it is lowered again, and the River Thames can flow freely towards the sea. The barrier is located approximately 1.9 miles, which is 3 kilometers east of the Isle of Dogs. I will suggest renaming that island. In the north, the barrier sits on the bank of Silvertown in the London Borough of Newham, and in the south, it sits on the bank of New Charlton area of the Royal Borough of Greenwich, and that is where I am sitting right now. Believe it or not, flooding had been a problem since the Romans established Londinium almost 2,000 years ago. However, nobody came with any solution for the next 900 years. In 1954, the Waverley Committee was established to investigate the serious flood of 1953, which affected parts of the Thames estuary and parts of London. They recommended that a structure should be built across the Thames which could be closed quickly in case of surge. A large number of designs were presented over the next 12 years. In 1965, when the Greater London Council took over responsibility, just 2 designs were under consideration. The problem occurs under specified weather conditions when a deep depression forms in the north of Scotland and moves across the North Sea towards southern Scandinavia. When this surge coincides with a high tide, the winds together with the depression can move the water up the Thames estuary and cause surges of up to 12 feet, which is 3.6 meters. The engineers calculated that with no barrier, the massive surge could cause flooding approximately 45 square miles, which is 117 square kilometers of land. This disaster would heavily impact hospitals, power stations, and the London Underground and cause damage estimated in 1966 at £2 billion, which is roughly 45 billion pounds in today's money, and that is $60 billion. The barrier was designed to defend London against the so-called 1,000-year surge tide expected in 2030. let's dive in the water now and let's look how the barrier works in practice. Before we go, look at these big wheels. These wheels move the barrier which is placed under the water. Look at this. This is the normal position, normal situation. The barrier is open and the individual parts of the barrier are placed in special pockets in the riverbed. When the surge is approaching, the barrier starts closing. Well before the flood wave arrives, the barrier is safely closed. The construction began in 1974 at Woolwich and was completed 8 years later. The initial tests were carried out on October 31st, 1982. The barrier was officially opened on the 8th of May, 1984 by Her Majesty the Queen. The final bill for the barrier? Well, back in 1982, it was almost £600 million. In today's money, it is £2 billion, which is $2.6 billion. Meow. During the entire history of the barrier, up to this month, August 2020, there have been 193 flood defense closures. Without the barrier, each of the floods would cause a lot of damage caused by the water and mud. Let's say it would be just £1 billion each time. Well, during its history it would be then £193 billion saved minus the $2 billion of construction costs, and we get a total amount of £191 billion saved. I'm sure the engineers would be able to make much more accurate calculations, and the total value of protected buildings and London Underground would be much and much higher. Originally, the barrier was designed to protect London against very high flood levels up to the year of 2030. After this year, the protection will gradually decrease. However, the engineers say Thames Barrier will be capable of protecting London very well against rising sea levels until at least 2070. That means at least for the next 50 years. Meow. Do you like my videos? Share them with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and click on the notification bell. I will be very happy to hear from you, boys and girls, and grown-ups as well. Write me in the comments, follow me on social media, and see you very soon in my next video. Cheerio!